The South African street cultural landscape was once heavily influenced by a grand crime lord, an untouchable kingpin, a figure of great controversy with shady dealings even on a governmental level, rubbing shoulders with tenderpreneurs. This is the story of Prince Mongol Mahlangu, a key figure in South Africa's urban crime. Only a few local crime figures have managed to capture public attention like he did. Known widely in media circles as a notorious cash and transit heist kingpin, Mahlangu's life reflected both fear and glamour. This was a life whose rise was built on crimes of all sorts: carjackings, cash and transit heists, and other unspeakable atrocities, with an eventual fall that was inevitable. Born in 1979 in the township of Soshanguve in the outskirts of Pretoria, Prince was born in a period marked by social and economic inequality that was faced in the area. Specific details regarding his birth and early family life are limited in public records, which reflects the secretive nature of his dealings and shady moves in crime spaces. As a result of growing up in a very vibrant yet crime-rampant semi-urban environment of Soshanguve and its rich street culture, Prince mingled with street characters which perpetuated the love for fine clothing, cars, and lavish living. This birthed informal networks, social hierarchies, and localized forms of power, where reputation and survival often depended on toughness and street smartness. Mahlangu's early years of development exposed him to both the allure and the risks of delinquent behavior and the access to quick ways of making money. And these early experiences, coupled with limited structural support, would eventually shape his trajectory towards criminality. While details about his education are limited, reports indicate that, like many of his contemporaries, his schooling may have been intermittent, and socializing within the neighborhood carried greater weight than formal education. This blend of personal ambition and environmental influence set the stage for his later life. Prince Mahlangu's personality was complex. He was described as a quiet and charismatic individual, yet possessing a commanding trait that allowed him to navigate both social circles and criminal networks effectively. His nickname Mongol became synonymous with authority and notoriety, amplifying his public persona. Mahlangu cultivated an image of success and sophistication that contradicted the dangers that surrounded him. He was known for flaunting expensive designer clothing and high-end vehicles, a lifestyle that contrasted sharply with the hardships faced by many in his community. He had a whole sneaker collection where he collected only top-of-the-range shoes, which he flaunted on media spaces for the spectatorship of all. The youth in Pretoria admired and revered him, and such displays not only reinforced his status amongst peers but also contributed to his public notoriety, attracting both admiration and scrutiny. Even with the scrutiny in sight, Prince simply did not care. He actually loved the attention and fame all his wealth attracted him. Prince Mongol Mahlangu's criminal career was characterized by high-stakes cooperations and strategic organizations. He was reported to be involved in cash and transit heists, a crime that targets armored vehicles transporting money, often involving firearms and meticulous planned attacks. On the 20th of February 2022, Prince and his crew were alleged to be behind the cash and transit heist outside Mnandi Spa along Tulip Road in Centurion. The men acted like normal civilians out on shopping, and out of nowhere, they sidetracked the G4S security guard, opening fire and claiming his life on the spot. The heist was botched. This was because the money was quickly stained with automated money protection system called the Intelligent Bank Note Neutralization System, which spilled cash dye on the notes, rendering the notes useless. Godfrey Kanyana, Lawrence Masemola, and Elias Masemola were later arrested, but Prince was simply never caught. Prince Mahlangu's allegations of involvement in this heist came as a result of the flashy garments worn by one of the perpetrators involved in the heist. This was after looking at the CCTV footages where the police noticed that one of the perpetrators' stature matched that of Prince, while the expensive apparel he wore to the crime suited his known obsession with high-priced clothing brands. Beyond cash-in-transit heists, Mahlangu was also allegedly involved in carjackings and armed robberies. His operations were often linked to organized networks that specialized in the hijacking of high-performance bakkies and transporting these stolen vehicles outside of South African borders into neighboring countries such as Mozambique and Zambia. The crime syndicate was reported to be the main contributor to the 2020 to 2022 bakkie theft crisis that arose through the country. They specialized in high-performance bakkies such as Ford Raptor, Toyota Hilux GR Sport, Toyota Hilux GD6, and the Volkswagen Amarok V6 TDI. His affiliation included dangerous crime instigating individuals such as Zorro, who was also his close friend, known for flaunting expensive clothing, cars, sneaker collections in his own right. These connections provided both operational support and protection. Surprisingly, Zorro and Prince were ZCC members. Zorro was an outspoken member of the star-emblemed ZCC led by Edward Lekganyane and was often seen in the church uniform, whereas Prince was not so religiously vocal, but was a member of the dove-emblemed ZCC led by Joseph Lekganyane. These men's syndicate ties called for theft of luxurious cars in areas around South Africa, with Gauteng being their preferred operation spot. Media coverage often emphasized the audacity of Prince's criminal activities. He was a figure who not only executed daring heists but also navigated the criminal ecosystem with strategic acumen. He survived multiple threats and confrontations, which contributed to his street cred as a kingpin. However, these accounts underscored the inherent violence of his life. Many of his criminal endeavors placed him and others in direct danger, resulting in injury and, in some cases, death. Interaction with law enforcement was a constant element of Mahlangu's life. While detail of arrests and convictions are not fully documented publicly, his activities made him a target of police operations and investigative journalism alike. This was the duality of his life, respected within certain circles, but pursued relentlessly by authorities, which further complicated his public image. Mahlangu's notoriety extended beyond the criminal sphere. Recent reports have proven that there are ties between Prince and the crime tenderpreneur Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, who is on trial facing several serious charges. Cat is accused of orchestrating a shooting in 2023 along the N1 near Sandton. The target was his girlfriend, actress and socialite Tebogo Tobejane, who was wounded in the foot. He is also charged with laundering money and other crimes such as fraud and tender irregularities, where his company was awarded 360 million for the health service tender, which was later cancelled. He is also further charged for obstruction of justice and other related offences. Now let's get back to Prince Mongol. Prince Mongol Mahlangu's life ended violently, a fate not uncommon among figures deeply involved in organized crime. Prince was out on what seemed like a date with his wife when suddenly he was confronted by a man in a white Golf 8. After a lengthy conversation with the man, suddenly the conversation turned sour. After some time in conversation, the man opened fire and Prince was shot on the chest. This incident occurred in Sunnyside, Pretoria, shortly after leaving Loftus Versfeld Stadium. His car, riddled with bullets, symbolized both the abruptness of his death and the dangers inherent in this kind of lifestyle. Through these showered bullets, his wife somehow survived. Upon announcement of his death, social media was on fire, with those who admired him in deep distress, while those who despised him were in a very jubilant mood. Media pundits were all riddled with reportings of this incident. They intensely documented the audacity and the spectacle of his life. Then came his funeral, a whole parade of wealth and affluence, grand opulence and social status that met the life of the deceased. His funeral was well lavished and meticulously organized. There was a strict imposition of dress code and vehicle standard. Those who wanted to attend the funeral were told to strictly come clothed in high-end clothing line such as Gucci and the likes. The vehicle standard was set to strictly 2022 model cars only. This parade was documented by the prestigious Brody's funeral service, which was watched live by thousands of South Africans. This highlighted the enduring performative aspect of his persona and love for lavish living. Soon after Prince's funeral and passing, his friend Zoro also met a grotesque demise. Zoro was driving his Toyota Hilux through Mamelodi Extension 4 when suddenly an armed suspect driving a BMW opened fire using an assault rifle, claiming his life in a hail of bullets. By the time help arrived or witnesses can intervene, it was too late. Zoro had collapsed behind the wheel. His body slumped lifeless, and his Hilux, once a sign of status, became a burned-out shell of violence. By examining both Prince's personal life and career, we gain insight into the factors that produce notorious figures in society. Mahlangu's life serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating how charisma and ambition, when combined with opportunity and exposure to criminal networks, lead to both notoriety and tragedy. But most importantly, the very important lesson about crime and its eventual compensation of death, destruction, and the grave are echoed through this downfall.